So hello, this is Steve Sanacero, your state senator here in the 10th District, which includes the Doylestown area. And I'm joined today by Paul Boger. Paul is with Operation Doylestown. Welcome, Paul.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. And we're getting together today to talk about how our local community can help our local businesses, and in particular, our restaurants, which have been hit so hard by COVID-19. And as we are getting toward the end of the year now in the holiday season, the much anticipated and dreaded second wave of the virus is taking grip, not just here in Pennsylvania, but of course across the country. And one of the things we need to continue to do is wear masks and practice social distancing and good hygiene to try to minimize the spread of the virus and keep our hospitals from getting overwhelmed. But in the meantime, we still have local businesses that really need our help. And if they're going to come out the other side of this, God willing, in the springtime, vibrant and ready to really get back into the swing of things, then they're going to need our help now over the winter. And one of the things that my family and I have been trying to do is a couple of times a week go get takeout from area restaurants as a way of supporting them. We still have some outdoor dining going on, even though the weather is getting more challenging for that now. And of course, there is indoor dining, and our restaurants are trying to do everything they can to create safe environments, comply with CDC guidelines. But however you look at this, and if whatever your comfort level is, at a minimum, we really want to encourage folks to do takeout so that they continue to help our local restaurants. So with that, Paul, I've spoken enough. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's happening in Doylestown?
Yeah, and I agree with everything you just said. I think that you're seeing the same picture everywhere. Doylestown is a small town that looks like a lot of places in America right now, where restaurants, retail stores are really, really struggling more than ever. And even more so, I'd say, than the beginning of this year. Mm-hmm. What you saw at the beginning of the year was a wave of support because people were very aware of the issue. And now as it's waned on, I think that's dimmed down a little bit. What I can say for sure is happening in Doylestown is exactly what you described. Restaurants are going through, a number of different things from safety policies, from cleaning, changing their hours, offering different types of menus, trying to do anything to entice people, A, to make sure they're safe, but B, to give them a reason to come out and make sure that they're keeping restaurants and retail stores in their mind. We've seen a sharp increase of takeout in Doylestown. We did a number of outdoor expansions and outdoor dining over the warmer months. Mm-hmm. Now that we're moving to the colder months, you're still going to see things like free curbside pickup parking and dedicated curbside pickup parking. I think you're going to see a lot of restaurants pushing takeout, and you're certainly going to see things like restaurants who are in smaller spaces expanding and sharing space with their neighbors, coming up with creative solutions. And I think that's the root of it, is that most of what you're going to see is people trying to work together to come up with creative solutions, because none of us have been through this before. Everyone's trying to figure this out on the fly and figure it out as we go. I think the biggest risk, though, is us waiting for them to do something. What every one of us can do is exactly what you just described. Grab an extra meal every week, get a gift card for a friend, make sure to get that gift for someone that for the holidays at a local store. It's little gestures like that if all of us can do on a regular basis, that's what's going to make sure these stores and these restaurants are still open next year. And I can say for sure in Doylestown, that risk is very real. Everyone's going to put on a brave face and they're going to keep about their day. But the reality is these stores, these restaurants, they are struggling. They need every bit of support we can get. And I think over the holiday months, you're going to see things like later hours, and you're going to see specials, and you're going to see things like that happening. But I think the risk is waiting for those things to happen to make sure that we're supporting these places in the interim. So through Operation Doylestown, we're going to be putting out as much information as we can through Doylestown Borough, trying to just communicate, make sure people are aware of the procedures and things that are in place for them to keep them safe, and trying to tread that line to encourage support, but to also make sure we're doing the responsible thing and keeping everyone healthy.
That's great. And you're absolutely right. I mean, we can't wait on this. This is something where folks need help now. And these are businesses that are hard enough to make a go of in ordinary times, even when the economy is good. But in a situation like this with a pandemic that has such a disproportionate impact on that business model, it becomes even harder. I'm reminded, I grew up, my parents were children of the Depression. And I remember they would tell us stories about how people banded together back during the Depression and during World War II, when there would be scrap metal drives and other things to try to keep the war effort going. And we're kind of in a similar situation right now. Only we're fortunate because it seems that it'll be of shorter duration. We have hopefully another 4 or 5 months before we start seeing vaccines being rolled out in a more broad basis. So now is the time that we need to do that. And so I really want to encourage people, go out there, do takeout if that's what you're most comfortable with. If the weather is nice and you can manage to eat outside, do that. Do whatever you're most comfortable with. Obviously, be very careful and continue to follow the guidelines yourself so you can stay safe. But we can get through this and we can help folks at the same time. So, Paul, is there anything else you want to add about Doylestown specifically? I mean, I know in the summer and spring, some really neat things that were happening on Fridays and Saturdays with parts of the different, whether it's State Street or Main Street being blocked off, and live music and that type of thing. What's it going to look like in the winter?
I think you're going to see some more pockets of those kind of efforts, independent businesses coming together and trying to put together, various different promotions and different small scale events, let's call them. But I think it's important to remember that, what makes Doylestown really unique is we do have a really strong community of small businesses. I think for a town of our size to have the number of independent restaurants and independent shops is very impressive. And that's something we certainly want to preserve. But just from a visiting and shopping and dining standpoint, it remains a really amazing place to live as well as to visit. And I certainly encourage anyone who hasn't been to town recently to try to make a visit. And like I said, whether it's shopping online or doing curbside pickup or takeout, or trying to get into town to do some shopping for the holidays, the stores they need the support, and they're here for everyone, and they're working very hard to do everything they can to keep people safe.
Yeah, I mean, and great restaurants. I mean, really terrific restaurants that people come from miles around. I mean, I live in Yardley, Lower Makefield Township. Ronnie and I would go up to Doylestown anyway, and to have a dinner on a Friday or a Saturday night because the restaurants are really excellent. So that's great, and hopefully, some of these things will continue on after the pandemic. Closing the streets down, having the live entertainment. I think those are in good times. Those would be nice amenities to continue to have. So I want to give a shout out to Mayor Strauss and the council for being real leaders in that and working with the business community to make those things happen. So they've done a great job in that regard. Okay, well, Paul, I really appreciate you taking the time, we're going to continue to encourage folks to be supportive, and we'll post as we go forward, and hopefully, I encourage folks to post their experiences, whether it's on Facebook or other social media when they go out to a restaurant, just to encourage their friends and family to do the same thing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me, and thanks for doing this.
All right. Absolutely. Thank you, Paul.